Hi everyone, it's Leilani. Welcome back to my channel. So today we are going to be working on a brand new project over here, and it is a recipe book. So I'm really excited to be working on this today, and basically we're going to be using this beautiful paper pad that I got from Hobby Lobby. It is the Paper Studio, kind of just has a mix of almost like watercolor looking paper. Some of it has a little bit of a foiled like silver foil in it, but it's very pretty. And then we're also going to be using a Life Crafted album that I just kind of had sitting on the shelf. So if you know me, I love to fill up my albums. I don't have very many that are empty. So this Life Crafted album has just been sitting there just wanting a purpose. So today we're going to give it one. So I've been thinking about making a recipe book for the last few weeks. And I will say that I don't really cook. So around here, I do like to bake from time to time. So I'm kind of the baker, and Will definitely is the cook. So today, the recipes that we are going to be documenting are baking recipes. So they're like the sweets that we eat around here. And then I'm going to get some recipes from Will, and I will come back and we'll be doing another video where I will document some of the kind of go-to recipes that we have as well. So today we're kind of working on the sweets section of the recipe book. So first off, I just grabbed some of the paper, measured it, and cut it out. So we have kind of the background for the 4 recipes that we are going to be working on. Then off camera, of course, I went and found the recipes online and tweaked them to how we make everything and all of that, and got them typed up and printed off and ready to go. So then we're just going to kind of lightly trim them out here. And then I also went on my computer and I found a photo of each of these 4 things that we're going to be documenting today, like a picture that I personally took whenever we have made each of these things. So I thought that that was a fun touch. So I definitely want to do that for all the recipes, like have a picture of it that I take before we eat the food. So today, the 4 recipes that we are going to be working on are snickerdoodle cookies, banana bread, s'mores cookie bars, and Oreo cheesecake. So these are 4 things that, not that we make all of the time, but 4 things that we have made a couple times. And so I definitely wanted to have these recipes handy. So this first one is for the s'mores cookie bars. So it's really easy. You can see that that recipe is pretty small. So if the recipe is shorter, I just have the photo directly on top of the printed recipe. But if it is a little longer, if the recipe was a little longer, I couldn't fit the photo on top of it. So I was kind of running into an issue. So for example, this one here for the snickerdoodle cookies, you can see that the photo of the cookies will not fit on top of the recipe. So I was trying to kind of come up with the solution of what I wanted to do. So I was looking around my craft room, and I did have a few of these Project Life little like fuse pockets. So I typically use Simple Stories flips where they have adhesive on the top, and you can add additional photos or whatever into your projects. But I only had one of those left, but I did have a few of these really old Project Life ones. So these, you're supposed to use the fuse tool to fuse them in place. I think I got these back in like 2018. So I thought that I would maybe use this. I was trying to figure out where I want to put it, but I do just settle on adding the pocket to the very top of the page so that it will at least look similar to the other one with the photo at the top. So as we go, you'll definitely see what I'm doing here. It's a very easy fix, and I think it's kind of cute to have a couple of them where they flip up and then a couple that don't. It's just a little interactive element, we'll say, but yeah, it ends up working out well. So I definitely don't fuse this. I just grabbed some red line tape from my stash, and I'm going to tape it right onto the pocket here, to the pocket page, and it works out just fine. So I'm still trying to figure it out here on camera, but that is what I'm going to do. So we'll start moving along with that and get it all adhered down. So, with this Life Crafted album, of course, sometimes I do things outside of the pockets and inside of the pockets and all of that. But for this particular album, I knew that I wanted to use page protectors, just in case, you have flour on your hands or sugar on your hands or anything like that whenever I'm using the recipe book. Then I won't have to worry about the recipes getting smudged or anything like that. So, I wanted to keep them as protected as I could. Now I just added a tiny bit of adhesive to the back of that photo, and I don't even put anything behind it. I might eventually, but it really doesn't bother me. This isn't like a really monumental scrapbook. It really is just to have these recipes somewhere where I can easily get to them. So like I said, these are kind of the baking recipes that I typically use and do around the house. So I actually, like every time I make the snickerdoodle cookies, I would say that's the main one of these that we make kind of semi-regularly. I have to grab out my 2020 December Daily album because I happen to document that recipe in that album. So every time I make them, pretty much, I grab out that album to make sure I'm doing everything correctly. Then the other day we had some ripe bananas, so I thought, hey, I'm going to make some banana bread. So I remembered that I had put the banana bread recipe in my All About Me album, so I had to pull out that album. And then I know that I have the Oreo recipe here, the Oreo cheesecake, and the s'mores cookie bars in Project Life's of the past, I think from 2020 as well. So instead of having to pull out these huge albums every time and try to, shuffle through and find them, I thought it would be a great idea to just make a recipe book. So I know that a lot of people probably keep recipes like this on their phone or they'll just Google it, but I can never remember exactly which recipe I used every time. And I'm really bad about keeping things on my phone because I tend to try to delete all of my photos for photo storage because I do, of course, make all my videos on the phone and everything. So it's just not something that I really gravitate towards, but I definitely like a more tangible option that I can grab. So I thought I'm going to make a recipe book. So I'm very pleased with it so far and am excited to add in the other recipes, like the more savory recipes here in a few weeks. So I did grab out several stamp sets that I have that are all like food related. So I thought maybe I could add a few stamps. So I just grabbed some of the scraps that we had, made earlier from cutting out those pages. And I'm stamping out a few little sentiments here that I thought might look nice on the recipes. So this one's really cute. I'm not exactly sure where all of these stamp sets are from. If I had to guess, I would think that this one is like Paper Person, I think. Yes, I see it. It's Paper Person. But, and a lot of them are just kind of random that I've accumulated over time. But I thought that these were super cute. So I cut those out off camera, and then we're just going to kind of add them into that like white space where the recipes are. So this one says fresh out of the oven, and I love that one. I always love a stamp that's like a circular stamp with something inside of it. That's just always so cute. And then on this one, since I also had kind of a lot of room, I added the little hand mixer there. And then this says made from scratch. I'm going to pop that right under it. And then I also have one that says Chef's Kiss. So we're going to add that. And then I needed something else to go on the fourth one. So I go back through my stamps again and try to find something else. So there wasn't anything else that was particularly like baking themed. So I found this little, like it's almost like a Tupperware, or maybe not a Tupperware, but a pot or something. So I decided that I would pretend that that was a mixing bowl or something that I was baking something in. So I'm just stamping it out a few times. I was deciding if I wanted to add a star to it or what I wanted to do. And sometimes I'm just trying to get a crisp impression. So I'm stamping it a few times here, but then I eventually figure out what I want and I go ahead and cut it out, and I'm going to add that on to the last one. And then I believe off camera as well, I stamped a few other little sentiments. So here in a second, you will see those pop up, and I'll add a few last little stamps here and there. I really love the way that these look. I love keeping it just nice and clean and just adding a few little embellishments, just super easy embellishments. I think that it ends up looking really cute. So this one I added Sweet Treat under the bowl, and I did really like this super, super thin outline that said yes please, or little words that said yes please. So I decided to add that under that made from scratch, and I thought that that was really cute as well. So now we have all of them ready to go. And but I had to try out this star stamp that I saw on one of them. It is so cute. It's the perfect little star. So I did grab out one of those Catherine Pooler stamp pads, and I am just stamping on a few little stars here and there. So instead of adding like my gold stars that I typically do, I decided to just stamp a few out. Love the way it looks, and super easy. And then we're going to add everything into the album. So as I was adding them in, I realized that I didn't need everything in its own page protector because it'll have front and back here. So I just kept the one that had the flippy onto the front, and then the one without the flip onto the back. So everything fit in really nicely. But I wanted to do one other thing for this album, and that was to create like a divider that could be for the sweet section of the album. And then I'll make another one for maybe the savory section, and then whatever else I end up putting in here. So I took a piece of the pattern paper and I went ahead and measured it by the page protector, but I measured it with the holes and everything. Like I made it a little bit bigger than the rest of these papers. And then I did the same for a second piece since it's not double-sided. So I'm just going to add that on here. And then I'll punch my holes. So you'll see what I'm saying. I made it a little bit bigger than those original pieces of paper because I wanted the divider to have the holes just in the paper. So now I'm just going to punch out my holes here and put everything into place. So then we'll decorate the divider just a little bit. So I did grab an Avery index tab, and I'm just going to add that onto the side. Super nice for keeping everything organized, and they just look so cute. So I love those. And then I knew I wanted to keep it really simple. Again, I want this to be something super easy that I can easily add on to. So I don't want to make anything too complicated where I end up not wanting to add other recipes to this book. So I have this huge paper pad, and I don't know if I'll use it for much else. So I'll have plenty of paper, and then I'm mostly just using the stamps as embellishments, so I won't have to worry about running out of like alphas or anything like that. So it should be really easy to add on to over time as I want to put more recipes into our recipe book. So here I used my circle punch, and I decided to use a little bit of blue to change things up a bit. And then I'm using some alpha stamps here. I think these are from Felicity Jane, and I am stamping out sweets. It's not perfectly center, but it works for me. And I'm going to add that into the center of my divider. I thought that it needed a little something else though, so I am going to stamp on a few of these little purple stars, and then I'm going to add a few black stars as well, just for a little something. And then it still wasn't popping enough for me, so I end up grabbing out those doilies again. Once I start, I can't be stopped, so I grab a white one, but then y'all know how I am. I needed a little bit more of a pop of color, so here in a second I will actually trade out the white doily for a pink doily because that's just who I am. So I'm going to do that, and I really think that that ends up looking quite cute. I like it a lot. So at first when I switched this out, I thought the pink was potentially a little too much, but I actually really like it. So I'm into the pink there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my Dymo label maker, and that is how I'm going to do my titles for all of the different baked goods. So for a little while I was wondering if I was even going to add titles because all of my small alpha sets were just too big. But I really like the way this ends up looking with the label maker, and I always have label tape, and that's just so easy to add on. So I'm just adding on what everything is here to the photo or to the page in some way. So I kind of speed through this, and then you'll see how it all ends up at the end. So yeah, I hope that y'all liked this new project that we're doing. I would love to know if y'all have a recipe book, like a scrapbooked recipe book, or Do you do that anymore? I'm not sure, but it is really fun. And I showed it to Will, and he thought it was so cool. He loves to cook, so I think he was really impressed by it. And I think it's really going to come in handy, honestly. I love it. It makes me happy, and I'm glad that I tried out this project. So I hope that y'all enjoyed it. If you did, please give me a like. Please also consider subscribing, and I'll be back at you soon. Bye, y'all.